Welcome back to I Am Nylis, and I am Nylis, your host. Well, I think we had a successful first launch, the first episode, and so we will press on. In this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about, in this segment, I Am Nylis, about our new Facebook page and a new sponsor, and then we'll have in the gig economy section, I'm going to talk about Lyft today. And I'm going to talk a little bit about culture towards the end, and then we'll wrap it up here towards the end. So I will get rolling here after the break.
While every shelter pet is unique, some love a good game of fetch. Others would rather snuggle together on the couch. However, there is one thing that they all have in common. They're all pure love. Right now, millions of pets in shelters and rescues across the country are waiting to be adopted. My family adopted 3 dogs, 2 cats, and we just love them all, and we love to give them a special place, and they're special in our hearts. So if you're thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit the shelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, Maddie's Fund, and the Humane Society of America.
Welcome back to I Am Nylis. And in this segment, I want to talk about our, we just got a new Facebook page started for our fans, where you can also message us and talk to us through there. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know of some topics that would be interesting to talk about, whether the gig economy, society and culture, or just in general. If you see something that you like, or you hear something that you like, then go ahead and let us know. You can also email us at info@iamnylis.com. Nylis, of course, is spelled Nylis. So that new Facebook page is at facebook.com/iamnylis, and you can reach us through there. And please like our page and let us know what you're doing out there. So I'd also like to talk a little bit about our one of our new sponsors. We want to give a shout out to us-specialties.com. They sell all sorts of hats, and whether it's military, whether it's first responder, there's some Christian hats out there, Second Amendment, all sorts of different kinds of hats and flags, and they'll be adding stuff all the time. And they do sponsor veterans activities, so they're a good little unit there. So I think the next thing that here in this segment I want to talk about is it's kind of crazy to talk about, but hey, it happens. Potholes. My goodness, this time of year is a killer. I know our cities and counties and everything else, they try to do their best at trying to attack these things after the winter. And those of you in the South that might be listening, you might not experience what we experience up here in the North, but potholes after the winter, and as the snow starts melting and the temperature changes, it just crumbles the asphalt, and if it's getting weak in any way, and it can do that to concrete as well. And there's just a lot of problems. And I drive a lot from Omaha, Nebraska, Sioux City, Iowa, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, all the way up and down the line. And there's just so many potholes. Oh my gosh. I've almost thought I was going to lose my vehicle in them a few times. And I probably should go back and look at my dash cam video, and you probably hear me yelp like a girl sometimes, like, oh my gosh, because after I hit it, I thought maybe I did something to the vehicle. And yeah, well, those things can be quite terrible. But on the other side of the fence, I seen our crews out they were working right after the main thaws and everything. They were working darn near 24 hours a day trying to patch them, and people's blood starts to boil when they start hitting them all the time, and they seem like they don't get fixed. And I just kind of want to give a shout out to the road crews that are doing their best with what they got. I know it's not your fault. It's like the unsung heroes, they're out there, they're trying to get that stuff done and trying to make it work. And the city managers and the planners and those people are trying to figure out which ones to do next. People in the city are complaining and calling constantly saying, hey, mine's really bad. You got to fix mine. And it's not an easy task for anybody, no matter how you look at it. As long as the city has got some money to take care of it and didn't skimp somewhere on the budget, then there's not a lot of real blame that can go around, I think, it's my opinion. Maybe I'm just too nice a guy and give them the benefit of the doubt, but I truly believe that they have been trying to do their best. They just don't need to stop. There's a lot out there. We've got to get you out there attacking all of them as fast as we can, and try to save our tires and our rims and everything else. Well, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little gig economy. So we'll see you after the break.
Buzz driving is drunk driving, and if you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. I've seen this many times driving Lyft and Uber, and you need to be careful and look out for these warning signs. Over texting, talking too much, taking too many selfies, oversharing, chugging water to sober up, turning the music down to focus, chewing gum, popping mints, eating snacks to soak up the alcohol, drinking coffee to sober up, splashing water on your face, doing jumping jacks. When you spot your buzzed warning sign, call a cab or a ride share, a car, or a friend when it's time to go home. Just don't drive home. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Well, welcome back to I Am Nylis, and another friendly reminder about if you have any ideas and want to let us know, or you want to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/IamNylis, or info@IamNylis.com. Nylis, of course, is spelled Nylis. You can let us know what you think and maybe some ideas for future talks on this program. So, gig economy, our next section here, our segment here on gig economy, we're going to talk about Lyft. Lyft is something that I've been doing since it came to South Dakota. A little backstory. I've got about 3,300 plus rides in Lyft. That's not a heck of a lot for some parts of the country, but we don't have shared rides, so we don't get multiple credits for different rides. We do these the hard way, one after another. And we also have a market that for some reason they decided to get lots of drivers into. But hey, that seems like it's in every market, so it's something we all have to deal with if we like doing this and we want to do this. But so I really want to get into a couple of the latest things going on. The IPO is one thing, and some latest changes to the app and some other stuff there. And also the earnings breakdown, a little bit of discussion there. So let's dive into the IPO. So since the IPO, or right before the IPO, there's been different things that we've been noticing, like Lyft amps weren't getting sent out, jackets weren't getting sent out. We were told they were on back order and stuff like that. And we all know that's probably just a consequence of the IPO, where they're trying to either save money or trying to show a little bit better on the bottom line, or something to that effect. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I'm hearing that things are starting to move again. The amps are coming out. The jackets are getting sent, and people are getting that kind of stuff. But I personally, I don't or haven't invested in Lyft right now. And I'm not a financial advisor by any means. God knows that. But I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing for drivers to be running out there trying to buy Lyft stock right now. I think that's for the big dogs out there that have lots of money to throw around and speculate and try to do things. I think most of us that drive, most of us, and I'm saying most, I'm speculating here, but probably 98% of the people that drive Lyft need that money. They're not doing it for pure fun. They may say, hey, I'm doing it because I enjoy it, but you need that money probably. And so I doubt that you're going to be throwing some of your money around at the IPO. And there's another one coming up soon, but that's something we'll talk about later in another segment, in another show. But as far as Lyft's IPO goes, pretty rocky start from what I've seen, and I'm hoping that the capitalization is going to be used correctly. There's a lot of drivers that think that what they do with this IPO can make or break the company. They need to... I know they need to invest in the right areas, and I know they're going to invest in self-driving, and I know there's a lot of markets out there, Vegas and a couple others. I heard of a few others too, where the self-driving cars are being tested, and I've talked to some people that have actually ridden in them. But I'm hoping that capitalization from that IPO they'll go out there and use it wisely. They need to invest a little bit in the drivers too. Well, if they don't invest in the drivers, then there will be a little backlash or uproar, I'm sure. The drivers haven't been seeing as many streak bonuses or any kind of bonuses or anything like that most of us would like to see and would help us. Those of us that have been around a while, that we have a tendency to never see them. There's those that are just starting, they're getting a bunch of those to get them incentivized to get going and drive. But one of the next things I'd like to talk about is some of the changes in the app. There's been changes in the app that like the surges have changed in a lot of markets to different types of surges, so they're not the 50%, 100%, whatever. There are other kinds of surges coming up now where you go into the area, and if you're not getting a ride, the surge is going up for you. Heard a lot of stories on the national sites about this, and not a lot of good have I been hearing about that. And we, in our market, in all the markets I drive, are still at the percentage surge, so we haven't really seen that, so I can't talk too much from first-hand experience yet about just how those surges are working. But from what I'm hearing, drivers aren't too happy about it. But I'm sure we'll make do and figure it out and find out the best way to make those work for us. But we just need to keep on the lookout, and if you want to report back to me what your surges are like in that area, if you're a driver, that would be great to hear some thoughts on those new surges. And then I wanted to also talk about some of those promised changes. They got some of these changes that they've promised that you're going to see more things going on. And some of those promises that you see on the app, on the email, or the app that shows you all the stuff going on, they say something about the earnings potential and all those. I don't know what anybody thinks about those graphs, but I find them quite useless, actually. I don't know who came up with those, and they really don't give you a good idea what's happening. They may be based on trends and historical data and
And there might be some real good statistical stuff there for somebody, and I do like statistics. I'm one of the guys that does like that. But the data that they are portraying to us, I don't see that it's that useful. Now, how many of you, I'd like to hear from you if you're using the beta app. The beta app is something that I've been using for about a year now. I think year and a half, somewhere in there, I got on the beta app. And there's some stuff on the beta app that actually looked pretty interesting. Now, some of the stuff did transfer over, and they have been, we see it on the beta app, and they play around with it, and we get to see it here and there. Not everybody on the beta app has it, and Lyft likes to do that. They put stuff on there that one driver might have, and the next driver sitting right beside them doesn't have. They have something different. But the beta app has something that's been, you might have heard about this, that they're testing. It sometimes it shows when you're going to accept the ride, it comes up in like an orange field where it will show the distance in minutes of the ride. We've had that before, but it also gives you the direction the ride is going to go, which is new. That's interesting. I've had it a few times, popped up and said the ride was going to be 9 minutes long and going to the southeast from wherever I pick them up at. Now that's pretty interesting. I hope that they keep something like that up and keep it going. We'll have to see. So I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but on the beta app, if I opened up my regular app and either had it open, or even if I open it up and closed it and then open the beta app, and the beta app's the only thing running, so let's say the other one's closed, and when I get a ping, it double pings in both apps. Even though I closed out the original program, it still opens up the original program. I've reported this to Lyft before, but I don't know if that's even something they can change, or that's really a weird thing that happens. It's really weird to get an echoing double ping, and when you accept it, it's still pinging in the background on the other app until it catches up and realizes you accepted it. So it's annoying. You think something's wrong, don't know that anything happened, or it didn't happen right, or you don't know for sure. So, but anyway, so one of the other things that we were going to talk about quickly here in this segment is earnings breakdown. So a lot of people have been talking about this on the national sites, and I thought I'd bring it up here too. Is that people think that we're not getting paid what we're supposed to. They think 75%, and they think of the whole. But everybody needs to understand that when Lyft charges someone something like, I think the lowest base fare that someone gets charged around here is $5.62. I think it's somewhere around there. So of that $5.62, there's $1.50 of a booking fee. There's also tax on the whole amount. And when all that's removed, the time and distance, what's left over, 75% of that, and that's what comes up. That's what comes up to the $2.55 we get paid. And that's less than 50% of $5.62. So people get irate a lot of times when they see the amount. But one other thing also to remember is that in some markets, I don't know if your market's this way, but if Lyft guarantees them a certain amount, a $15 ride, it's not going to cost more than whatever the amount was. The route that Lyft calculated to take, if you don't take that route, you won't get your full 75% or whatever of the distance and time, because the distance and time that they calculated will be different than what you took. Customer asks you to go off to, if it's a guaranteed amount now, I do emphasize that, and the Lyft says, or the customer says, I want to go over here and stop here on the way, so let's take this other route, and it's shorter, potentially, and takes less time, then it would be, you might end up making a lot less, or less. I wouldn't say a lot less. You definitely would be making less. So that's one thing to watch out for too, is that
if somebody takes and switches over, the route where they want to go, and they say they want to go a different route, that's okay under normal circumstances if they didn't get a guarantee. But because if they get a guarantee, they get charged that guarantee. That's what they get charged, and Lyft's going to end up making even more. I even had that under Uber, I think, but I won't talk about that right now under the Uber stuff. But Lyft, I've seen it on both platforms where it sit there and it showed a lot more was taken out. I mean, I had with tip, I didn't even make 50%. So, and it was a larger ride, like $25 ride or something. And I took a different route because the customer wanted to go that route, and it was shorter and it was quicker. But, that can happen to you. So, we'll be back after the break. We'll take a short break, and we'll be back, and we'll roll right into culture.
Every day, we have the ability and opportunity to create a more accepting world by actively coming together and living inclusively. Even small acts of inclusion can have a big impact and make others feel loved and accepted. Because most people don't see themselves as part of the problem, they don't recognize that they can be part of the solution. Before anything else, we're all human. Start a conversation and create a deeper connections. Consider whose voices are and are not represented. Use inclusive, appropriate, and respectful language. As my grandmother used to say, respect those, and they'll respect you. Learn how you can come together at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Well, welcome back, everyone. The next segment I'd like to go over is culture. Yeah, a little bit of culture here. And one of the first things I want to talk about is volunteerism. I know it's a big word, but what I've noticed lately, I'm in several different groups and organizations and this kind of stuff, and I have really noticed that the population that actually goes out there and volunteers and all the different stuff that people are doing, it seems like these older organizations have older people. The younger people just aren't volunteering, aren't getting out there, aren't helping out with things that they're trying to do, whether it's fundraising or whatever the case may be. There's some of it out there. There's some of the younger people who are out there doing some stuff, but we're just seeing, if across the board, if you think about it, what do you volunteer for and go out and help? Is it the band program because your son or daughter is in the band, and so you feel obligated to go out there and help with that fundraiser or that supper or whatever the case may be? Or is it maybe something else that you're involved in, and you feel some kind of a commitment and you go out there and volunteer? But it's not quite the same as, our parents or our grandparents. If you go back that far, much different what happened back then. They were really obligated to go out and volunteer and help with things. And that comes around to the other part of this is participation. We talk about participation trophies and things like that, but truly participation in these organizations and helping out. And I've heard this a lot also with the American Legion. I'm a member of the American Legion. I've been commander for 3 years. I'm an adjutant now. And in the American Legion, there's a lot of people, when I talk to them about joining, they say, well, I would, but I can't participate too much. I'm not able to do much. I've got too much going on, and this kind of thing. What I really find sometimes interesting is how 50 years ago, 40 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, people were out there farming. They were working a job 9 to 5, but at 5:30 they were at the post, or they were at the organization, and they were helping set up for that supper that night. And they worked through the night and got it all squared away and took care of everything. And they go home and they spend a little bit of family time, and then they go to bed and get up and do it all over again, going to work and then going somewhere else and helping out, or going and doing something that they need to do around the house. They always found time for that kind of stuff. And almost believing that some of it's time management that we have. And if I look back at myself, what I volunteer in, and I do a lot of stuff, but when I get home, I have a tendency to veg out on the couch or watch a show that I haven't seen for a while, and I haven't seen the episodes, and try to hit a couple episodes instead of getting some stuff done. So, yeah, we sometimes participate in certain things, but it's not always that we're participating in everything that comes along. We're not really getting ourselves involved as much, not near as much as the others have done in the past. And because of this, things like membership in the organizations. Membership is another thing that's key in some of the service organizations, because they represent, if you've been in the service, you're in the right to be in those organizations. And I don't want to make this a recruiting speech by any means, but if you don't become a member, even if you're not participating, you're cutting down the voice that organization has when they try to lobby in Congress and other places like that. But other organizations, becoming a member and being a good participant is also very helpful to that organization. I look back to this weekend. This past weekend was the El Rayed Shrine Circus. I'm a Shriner, a Mason, and it takes like 300 people per show, and we do 9 shows. And there's a lot of people that do every single show. And there's other people that come in for 1 or 2 shows, which is awesome, because any help is appreciated. I've even had members that aren't members of the organization come in and help. I have a good friend. He came in and helped for a couple of years in the circus, and he was not a Shriner, was not a Mason, but eventually he got interested to join and became a member. And big events like that really need participation from people and volunteers and people to help out. And you see it all over. And the membership of the Shrine has dropped. The membership of American Legion, VFW, DAV, all these other organizations, whether it's a veterans organization, whether it's just a regular organization, the membership has just been dropping. People don't pay to be a member or support the organization by becoming a member. And I feel that this in our culture has just changed massively. Everything is go, go, go. We've got to do this, we've got to do that. But on the other hand, we've let some of these things that used to be part of our core values, even in the churches, they're dropping. The membership of the church is dropping, or it's splintering, and people are going to different places. That's fine. I mean, if someone doesn't want to be at that church and they want to go to another church, there's nothing wrong with that. But when they go and they go to the other place and then they don't participate much, and then they just lose interest, they fall off, they start doing other things. Life keeps moving, but it just seems our culture is taking a hit. And we just don't get out there and help where help is needed. And I still feel that helping others sometimes needs to come above and beyond yourself. Selfless service. Maybe it's my military time, that I think of that. And sometimes I do put others ahead of my family, which is, I think a lot of people worry about that. They worry that they're going to do that. If they go out and they help at this organization, they're going to miss out on something with the family, and they don't want to do that in any way, shape, or form, which I can totally understand. And I think my family can admit that I have missed a few family events that I probably should have been at. But when I took a look at all what was happening, and that the organization that I was doing, and I was doing the volunteering or participation in whatever organization it was, and there just wasn't enough people that would make that sacrifice, that would just go out there and do that. And there's others that probably didn't have a serious reason for not showing up, but and they just didn't feel like it, or whatever the case was. But that's what I'm talking about. That's the culture that has shifted so much in the past 20, 30, 40 years. It's going to be the death of our culture in some ways. That little piece of it where we go out and we volunteer and we help others and we make our groups that we belong to strong and get things going. I'm sorry about rambling on about the organizations and stuff like that, but that's really important to me, and it's something that I wanted to talk about. So I would also like to mention again, if you have any ideas for the podcast and want to reach out to me, I can be reached at info@imnylis.com, Nylis spelled Nylis. We also have our Facebook page at facebook.com/imnylis. And also a shout out quickly to one of our sponsors, us-specialties.com. They have some great hats and flags, and they're always getting new products, and pretty great little online shop there. You should check it out. So I'm going to cut this segment short, and we will get back in a minute to the wrap up for the day. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us for the wrap-up. So we talked a little about I Am Nylis and some of the things on my mind, and we also talked about the gig economy, and we kind of focused on Lyft in this show, and I hope some of that information was good and helped somebody out. If you're thinking of becoming a driver, or you've never actually driven with Lyft, which there is possibility of that. There are a few people out there that haven't taken a Lyft. You could always use, and a selfish plug here, my promo code. If you want to be a driver, you want to be a rider, you can use my promo code of Nylis, Nylis. And then we also talked a little bit about culture, and how I see that culture seems to be disappearing. The part of culture where we go out and volunteer, and participation and memberships in organizations that really have a good meaning and need that participation, need that membership to keep them alive. So I wanted to thank everybody today for listening. And one more time, info@imnylis.com, Nylis, for all your information that you want to get to me and let me know what's going on. Critique is always accepted, good or bad. I got thick skin. Retired Army E6. Also, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/IamNylis. So you all have a good day, and thank you for listening today.